Very, very pleased. Staff's back. I know our players are pleased as well. It's a lot of continuity amongst our group that really forged a very healthy situation for us that allowed us to compete very well, I felt like, this year. Just a really talented staff, all of them back. We did have one addition in the sense of Brian Esposito, and now be in a similar role, but now officially our bench coach, so that's good for Espo, more than earned. Obviously, Ruben's back to a longer-term contract. That's exciting for the entire organization, our pitchers, and Fritzy, our bullpen coach, back, and Peter Somerville is back, our game planning guy. So that part's in really good spot. We do have Victor Rodriguez back and extended, so that's exciting. Along with Mike McCoy, Pat O'Sullivan, Morgan Burkhart, all these guys that are really a part of our club that important group offensively that led the league in offense in a lot of categories. So, Leap's back coaching third. So you got the Leap man back doing the stuff at third base, and Macias is back as our first base coach. So it's exciting to have the group back. Really excited, talented group.
How, if at all, is Esposito?
He really was the de facto bench coach, and a lot of the responsibilities he took on. He will continue to grow in some of his responsibilities, but he does a really good job of pregame preparation, not only in his lane with the pitchers, being the catching coach, which he'll also continue to do, but also just the general preparation, how we're going to compete, how we're going to play, being a voice for me that, I can talk through things during the game. So that part will be pretty consistent. We are looking to absorb a spot in our Major League Field Coordinator's role. Ryan Barber made a decision for more of a life balance situation to go back on the minor league side and be able to do that, which we're clearly supportive of, but are going to miss. So Espo will occupy some of those responsibilities, but we do expect to fill that role.
You got a lot of guys coming back. What do you think you guys need to do to get back to the level we're at?
Yeah, we do. We do have a good core group coming back. We've got a great nucleus of guys that are under contract, that are coming back, that are having good, productive all seasons, that are excited about the opportunity for 2025. So that's really exciting for us, and now it's up to AJ and beyond to figure out what the other pieces look like. I mean, we know we're not going to, virtually no club is going to be able to run it back, and I think that's normal and expectations relative to the industry. But we are having a lot of guys that are free agents that we like to have back, but again, that's more of AJ's purview. But our core is intact and excited and having a good offseason. It's a good question. Our shortstop, and listen, it's a question we didn't answer the day before spring training last year. So why would we answer it this year so early? The good news is, it's interesting. We have a lot of people that talk about our club, and it's like you have shortstops over the field. And so determine who your actual shortstop's going to be. But Bogey did a great job towards the end of the season. We're still having conversations with him. And AJ's got his job to do during this offseason to figure out our roster. So be a little early to name that shortstop at the moment. But, clearly Bogey's a definite candidate for that.
Like you sounded pretty confident on the radio earlier about Roki Sasaki and your case of winning him. Just to be clear, what's your optimism level?
I'm an optimist by nature, but I'm not a blind one. I don't think I know. I mean, listen, the organization, long answer probably to your question, Dennis, but I feel like the organization is in a really good place with Sasaki. If there's an open market competition to be had, I feel like we're in a good spot, for a multitude of reasons. One, we're in San Diego. We sell out our ballpark every night. We got a very competitive ball club. It's a chance for him to come in and create a legacy for himself to help win the first World Series. We have a general manager that has established roots in Japan that clearly has been in the market with, Darvish. I mean, we traded for Darvish. We're going to get Matsui. I mean, heck, AJ has learned to speak Japanese, years ago in the recruitment at Darvish. We have Nomo, as part of our organization that's, clearly a Japanese presence and, a well-respected figure over in that part of the world. So we got all these different things that are in our court, that allow us to have a real competitive opportunity to get him and be a Padre.
What's your sense of how involved Darvish wants to be in this process? Obviously, he knows him, has played with him.
Yeah, no, I think there's definitely a respect level. I would say definitely. a strong assumption there's a respect level, rightfully so, for Darvish from any player from the Japanese market players. So you will be involved. To what degree, that'll be up to Darvish, and of course AJ will help shepherd that, but I do feel comfortable and confident that Darvish will take his rightful spot in doing what he can.
Mike, what was your reaction to the contract Soto signed?
The contract that Soto signed, good for Juan. That's my initial response. It's good for him. It's a beautiful thing about our industry is it's a free market. He's able to negotiate. It says a lot of positive things about our industry. If you look at this from a bigger picture, and look at other sports and some of the contracts that are taking place in other major sports, you have really big contracts that are taking place. Economies are growing. It's good to see that baseball is a part of that. And also, if you look at it, we are competitive entertainment. What I mean by that is, look, we show up every day to compete. The better team wins most every day. And we compete for a world championship, and that's what this is all about. But there's an entertainment value to this as well. And if you look at it relative to the market, it's a big number, right? But again, good for Juan, good for the industry, mostly, I guess. I think about this, and I've said this, and I've looked at for years, going back to bigger contracts. And I said this earlier. To her credit, Judge Judy, I looked back and was making $47 million a year on average between 2012 and 2020. $47 million a year. And I don't think she throws a really good curveball or can hit a good slider. And she's making way more than anybody before Juan has made in our industry. So it's all perspective. Good for Juan, and I'm happy for him.
Mike, with Kyle Higashioka leaving for the Rangers, obviously, it's a ways away from spring training. You can have signings, trades. How do you view Luis Camposano after his season, just in the catching situation right now, at least as is?
Yeah, you know what? We're going to miss Higgy. We've created a very familiar organization where we're all close and looking towards one common goal. You do recognize when you don't able to re-sign a Higgy, we wish him the best of luck, and he's in a great situation and do what's best for him, and we respect that. But you realize it's definitely a business, and that's part of it. But to your question specific to Campy, we're excited about Campy. He made strides last year. He just went to play winter ball. I think he's going to play another game or two down the DR. So he's always looking to improve and get better at his craft. And it's just about continual progress. Campy no different than myself or any part of our staff, as AJ was talking about, or most importantly our club. He's just looking to get better, and it's our responsibility to help with that.
A follow-up on Kyle. Can you just speak to his contributions defensively behind the plate and then also in the postseason?
Yeah, he made a lot of contributions behind the plate. The catching position, you're going to be a force multiplier one way or the other. It's such a polarizing position. For me, it's the most important position in the field. I don't think I'm in a silo on that. He did a wonderful job of being able to shepherd his staff, partner with the staff, lead the staff, work really well with myself, Ruben Niebel, our pitching coach, create attack plans, but also use his own experience to see the game, react to it, and then work with the staff and what they had that given day. I always talk about, game starts and you're prepared for the black and the white, and then the game starts and you have the gray. And Higgy was able to handle the gray really well. And he, smart guy, was able to navigate and compete. And, of course, he helped us in the playoffs, swung the bat well, got a lot of big hits. So, that's an experience that we're going to miss, but we're going to look to, figure out the next step. Yes, ma'am.
What do you view the state of rotation now, and what do you make that versus Sasaki is also really worried about?
Well, I like what we have. And, you want to start with no particular order, but we'll start with Darvish, with the nod towards the experience. You threw the ball fantastic when he was available to us this year, and he's having a good offseason. So, that playoff game, he was pitched as well as you could possibly pitch. So we starts with him, so that's great. Michael King took not only the next step, but multiple steps in really taking that next level, not only to be a major league starter, to be like a front-end major league starter. Michael had a phenomenal year. Again, another guy pitched exceptionally well in the playoffs, got 2 wins. Expect him to continue to grow and take those next steps and fortify the front end of rotation, which the kind of club we expect to have, we're going to need. And then you have Dylan Cease, and Dylan definitely had a great year, took the ball, threw the no-hitter, got us into the playoffs. and threw the ball exceptionally well, and you're going to get, or feel confident you're going to get a quality start and give yourself more of a chance than not to win a baseball game with all three of those guys. So that's a good start. We have experienced guys that helped us this year. I mean, Vasquez got 20 starts this year. Matt Waldron carried the mail and was a big part. And I felt like Matt got lost a little bit in the postseason shuffle, in a sense of, we added Martin Perez and Darvish came back and Joe was back for a while. And, but Matt Waldron, without him, especially in the first half and in the middle of the season, able to accomplish what he was able to accomplish, we're not where we ended up being, and that was a playoff World Series caliber contending club. So having those two guys back are really important, and Johnny Brito, we expect to contend for an opportunity to compete for a rotation spot, and after that we're open for business.
Hey Mike, when you were talking about Soto, happy for him, what does signing a long-term contract mean for the other people in the clubhouse? And you guys had a few of them yourself.
Yeah, it's important to have that anchor. It's good to know. I alluded to it earlier, but talk about our core players. It was really important to know that you can sit down with Manny and Toddy and Croney and Bogey and Darvish and Musgrove at the beginning of the season and talk about not only this coming season, which is fine. You can have this conversation with your better players and your clubhouse leaders. But if they're on 1-year deals or 2-year deals and they got a foot in and a foot out and they're not sure where it's going, it doesn't really have a sustainable substance, that you can partner with. And so having somebody you know is going to be there, that you can work with in that clubhouse, that are your better players, they're going to be your leaders on and off the field. It's really critical for short and long-term success.
I'm sure you guys must have done autopsies on the playoffs like crazy. Did you come to some sort of conclusion about what happened that you guys shut down offensively for 24 straight innings?
Yeah, I mean, listen, there's been a lot of thought about our season from the beginning. I alluded to that, to all the way through. Part of my job, our staff's job, our players' job is to look, which we've done, bigger picture and then more, specific and granularly. To your specific question, we feel like, yeah, we've grown as the season went. We're continuing to grow from the experience of the season relative to what happened the last couple games. Combination of things, I'm never going to, I think the people that cover this club and know me, I'm not going to alibi anything. But I really feel comfortable and confident. It was as much about they performed. They pitched really well. If you go back and look at it, and I don't look at it a ton because I was there and I have a pretty good feel for what took place, they pitched really well. They really did. They had a bullpen game that was not one guy, missed a spot. They were on point with everything they did. And then in Game 5, Yamamoto threw as good a game as we had seen against him in the entire year, and we opened the season with the guy over in Korea and had experiences against him. He's a talented pitcher. He threw the ball exceptionally well in a big moment. Life on his fastball, split, looking like a strike the whole way. He was really good. And, their bullpen, again, brought it home. It was the strength of their club. So their strength was able to, neutralize our strength, one of our strengths. So really it comes down as simple as that. It was two good teams going at each other, and they didn't make as many mistakes that we couldn't capitalize. We made a couple of mistakes, and the Hernandez has got us for a couple solo home runs, and that's the end of the story.
It was part of a streak of 4,005 games over 2 series. What did you think of their comments that the Padres were really the strongest team that they faced in the playoffs, and that your fans were really the most enthusiastic fans in the company? You said that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's Petco Park's one of the best places, if not the best place to play. We're very blessed to be in that environment. We don't take our fans for granted. We're excited to continue to perform with them and for them, and it's a great atmosphere relative to whatever comments are made about whoever's going to. Both teams knew it during the series. I don't think it was any state secret that both of us, out of complete respect for the remaining field, were really well aware that clearly there need to be more work to be done. But the two teams that whoever's going to win that series, we're going to have a chance to move on. We felt it, and it sounds like they felt it as well.
Mike, we asked you a lot about Jackson during the course of the season as he was doing what he was doing, but now that you've had some time to reflect on it, how do you sum up what he accomplished last season, and if any, is there room for him to grow even further?
Yeah, it's a lot to unpack. I got to get my thoughts around this one right. Definitely a phenomenal year. I mean, you think about it. I won't get into because it's already been settled, but I have a strong opinion about who was the Rookie of the Year. Out of complete respect to Mr. Skeens, Jackson, what he did was tremendous, and my bias, yes, and my but we'll leave it at that. He had a phenomenal year. Position switch, first year in the big leagues, no AAA experience, and he's going to go out and he's going to be, a Silver Slugger award, Gold Glove caliber center field, big moments. Not only doesn't shy away from them, but thrives in them. So a lot of really positives. Is there room for improvement? Absolutely. I saw him just recently. He's in the weight room. He's getting after it. Again, there's a respectful break from the field after a long season, but there are conversations about what's next, how do we get better. But that's applicable to Jackson, myself, and the whole club.
Mark, you talked about the growth of the team over the season. I wondered for you, how much do you feel like you feel different, or how much growth do you feel in your position with the club from this time last year to this year?
Yeah, no question. There's more, definitely a lot of growth, more familiarity with not only our club, with the staff, the organization, and I can only tell you this, it's not been nothing. Well, it's not always a straight road. I mean, no path is always straight. You're trying to get an organization to move in as one living organism. So there's going to be healthy conversations and dialogues. But if you know that one group is moving together for one common goal, that's a really fun and special thing to be a part of. And, to Bob's question earlier about having a player and players that are there, when you can partner with that group, you can partner with your front office, you can partner with your staff. To AJ's question earlier about, the staff being together and back again. And when you continue to do that, now you wade through a lot of the more challenging things to navigate, and now you're on the same page. Now it's about just continue to get better in some of the smaller, more, like I said earlier, granular processes. So it's continual work in progress. We've made some ground, but we got some ground to cover.
Hey, Mike, to Lynn's question a little bit, from a big league perspective, what does it look like when you know that your player development apparatus is working the way that it should work? What does that look like for you?
Jeff's a good question. There's a lot of different ways for a team to compete, right? And so we know there's trade, obviously. We've used that. There's free agent. That's in play for us as well. But the question back to Jackson, a big part of the lifeblood, especially for organizations from an economic standpoint, is your minor league system. And so having that continuity with our big league staff to the player development staff, and how we want to instruct, how we want to teach, how we want to nurture our players, what the expectations are, that is vital to the lifeblood of any organization. And there's a lot of layers to it. It's not, and it's a lot of layers that requires a lot of time and energy and synergy. Yep.
Like how do you in the Padres cope with the growing disparity with the bigger contracts and even the regional sports networks, which are affecting your club and others?
Yeah. So the question, I think I've got this right. The economics of the game relative to cable contracts, and that's bigger picture question more for like front office and so forth. From my seat, listen, we're not naive that there are certain organizations that have just more competitive advantages. That's no state secret, right? I mean, we live that every day. I can look at that, and we can look at that as, oh, woe's us. We don't have the resources. We don't have the flexibility. We don't have the payroll. We don't have the income streams. And that can be absolutely accurate and factual. And it is. The reality from my seat, our clubhouse seat, our team seat is it's still a game that requires you to play it right, compete in a certain way, to play the game a certain way. Of course, clearly the more resource you have, the more talent you can accrue. And that's real. That's talent shows up, and we can't kid ourselves. But effectively, it's about how we're going to figure out a way to compete and play the game right with the ability that we've been given. The other market maybe imbalances are way out of my pay grade. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep.
Like when Luis Arraez just won his batting title in Arizona. I think we set something along the lines that we expect the next couple of titles to come in San Diego. Do you still expect that? And otherwise, do you think he'll be extended by the time he does start the season?
Yeah, the question being is like Luis won his third batting title with his third different club, and I made a statement that we expect Louis to win multiple more, which I think no one's surprised by that, but very expective of him doing that as a Padre in kind of the next Tony Gwynn lineage. Would that be great? Yes. Do I expect it to happen? He's got another year of control under his contract. I don't know where the organization is relative to an extension on that. That's, again, more of an AJ question, but I just know he's a really good fit for our organization and for our lineup, and he's talking about partnering with somebody. He's a really great talent, but he's got the heart of a lion, and he's just a really good human being. He's just a great guy to have on the club.
Just following that up real quick, do you have any concern that the Soto thing sets a precedent that they decided they didn't want to pay the arbitration in the last year and they weren't going to sign it? Could the same thing happen with Luis?
Yeah, again, I'm going to stay away from the arbitration money. I got my hands full with the balls and bats. So I'll let AJ and the ownership figure out the dollars and cents.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mike.
Appreciate it.
Good to see you, Mike.
Good to see you, Barry. Always a pleasure, buddy.